Hello everyone, I'm going to be going over a different rigging technique today, so using the skeleton tool for a sort of classic cutout approach. Now I have a project that's all ready for you that you're just going to need to download from Google Classroom. I've already downloaded it, but when you download it, you're just going to come over to Tahoma to the new project dialog. So from the drop down here, you're just going to browse, click on downloads, and then the rigging folder should be the correct project. So I'm just going to choose that as my project. You'll go to open another scene, and then you'll open the skeleton template scene right here. So you can see that this is our cutout character. I've provided the drawings for you just to save some time. But you can see that it's broken down into several different components. Everything is named descriptively because several of the steps having descriptive names is going to make it a lot easier to figure out what's going on, especially in the case that the thumbnail is particularly small like this, where it's hard to identify just from the image. Now, when you are doing a cutout technique and you're doing some rigging, it's really helpful to name your levels both descriptively, but also to have some sort of system. So I've added a B or an F to the end of the name, depending on if it's intended to be in the back or if it's intended to be on the front side of the body, since this is a side view. If I was doing a front view, I might have L or R at the end of the name for left and right. And I could even abbreviate further, like I might have L leg for lower leg or U leg for upper leg, or if I wanted to use the technical terms, I totally could do that as well. Whatever makes sense, but having some sort of system makes this easier to follow. Now, right now, the drawings themselves aren't in the correct order, so I need to do a little bit of reordering here. So if I head over to the website, first of all, I have a little bit of information on the skeleton tool tab here on the rigging page, just about the drawings themselves. So I specifically planned on where the drawings are going to be overlapping. I didn't just draw up to the edge of the next drawing. I have these little curved areas of overlap between the drawings so that I'll be able to pose without any sharp edges and corners jutting out or gaps in weird areas. So you deliberately have a little bit of overlap. Now, when it comes to the drawing order, this represents from the bottom going towards the top of the timeline, and this is the order that I'm recommending. Sometimes you might see people use a slightly different order depending on the exact setup that they have, but using this as a starting point should work pretty well. So back over into Homa, I'm just going to press on the accent key to get just a full screen view. And this works for any of the different panels. Accent key toggles in and out of full screen for the panel, just so that I can really focus on what's here. So at the very bottom, my first layer is going to be the back upper arm. So upper arm back, I'm just dragging and dropping it where I actually want it located. Now the back hand, the lower arm back, the back foot, the upper leg back, the lower leg back, the foot on the front, the upper leg for the front, the lower leg for the front, the head, the torso, the upper arm for the front, the hand for the front, and ending with the lower arm for the front at the top. So that all looks good. Accent key to get back out. I do want to mention all of the light drawings are for the front side of the body, and then the darker drawings are for the back side. Okay, so next up, I want to make sure that my joints are going to be moving properly. So I'm going to be setting the center for each drawing where I want the limb to be rotating from. And so I'm going to be using the Animate tool to do that in the center mode. And on the website, you can see a few recommendations for joint locations. But I'm just going to go from the top down, Animate tool, set to center. And so for the lower arm in the front, that's going to be rotating from the elbow. The hand in the front is going to be rotating from the wrist. The upper arm in the front is going to be rotating from the shoulder. The torso is just going to rotate the entire body, so as long as it's somewhere inside of the torso drawing, it probably doesn't matter exactly where. Maybe something like this. The head, because the head and the neck are a single drawing in this particular case, is going to be rotating from the bottom of the neck. The front lower leg is going to be rotating from the knee. The front upper leg is going to be rotating from the hip area. And the front foot is going to be rotating from the ankle area. The lower leg for the back is rotating from the knee. The upper leg is going to be the back hip. The foot on the back is rotating from the ankle. The lower arm for the back is rotating at the elbow. The hand in the back is rotating from the wrist. And the upper arm in the back is rotating from the shoulder. So something like that for all of the locations. Now, next up, I'm going to move over to the skeleton tools, this little bone icon right here, and this has a few modes. The build skeleton mode you can use to drag over to different areas to try to connect the bones together for the correct parent-child location. I personally don't find it super easy to understand what's connecting where and making sure it's in the right order, so I usually actually move over to the effects tab, and I'm looking at the stage schematic view where we have the table, we have the camera. If you are in this other view where you have the output and the scene, then you're in the effects schematic and you can click right here to get back into the correct view. So just like before, I'm just going to press the accent key to get a full screen over here so that I can have a little bit more space so you can see what's going on more clearly. The torso is going to be the parent of everything else. And I connect things together just by dragging either from red to blue or from blue to red. So the head is going to be a child of the torso. All of the upper limbs, so the upper leg on the front, the upper leg on the back. Again, blue to red to blue, doesn't matter which way I drag. So upper arm on the back, upper arm on the front. Those are all children of the torso. Now the lower arm on the back is going to connect to the upper arm on the back. The hand on the back is going to connect to the lower arm on the back. The lower arm on the front is going to connect to the upper arm on the front. And the hand on the front is connecting to the lower arm on the front. The lower leg in the back is connecting to the upper leg in the back. The foot in the back is connecting to the lower leg in the back. The lower leg in the front is connecting to the upper leg in the front. And the foot in the front is connecting to the lower leg in the front. So we have the torso connected to the head, the upper legs, the upper arms. The lower limbs are connected to the upper limbs on the same side, either front or back, and the feet and hands are connected to the lower limbs. Right, and then just the accent key to get back out of that view. I'm going to go back over to the 2D view, and now we can see how everything is actually connected together. I'm going to change modes here. If I go to the Animate mode, I can click on my drawing, and I'm just going to take a moment to lock the camera view, but I should be able to click on my drawing and not rotate the camera. Since it's being a little fussy, I'm going to just click on the drawing and rotate off to the side instead. And we can see how that's rotating here. If you're not happy with the rotating location, you can grab onto the center from here and just make further adjustments so that you're happy with what the behavior is for that particular limb if you realize that it's not rotating exactly how you want it to. So I can click on the different drawings, adjust the rotation, set whatever pose I want to set. And so the skeleton tool in Animate mode is great for just setting whatever you want the pose to be, but notice we're not changing the actual location itself. Technically we can, like if I come over to the torso here and we have this little green widget, I can grab onto that to move the entire location. So actually if you want to do that, you can. I recommend though just focusing on the pose when you're in the skeleton tool here. So I've moved almost everything, and every time I make a change, it automatically adds a keyframe. If I want to have this be a starting position and I want to loop whatever my action is so that it keeps repeating, in that case, I might want to come and right click on the frame number and insert multiple keys. That gives every layer a keyframe. And then let's say I want a 24 frame action where it's just 1 second and then it loops and repeats. I can come over here, right click on the frame number, insert multiple keys. Now it's starting and ending exactly the same. So if I come somewhere in the middle and make whatever my change is going to be, and this probably isn't something I would actually be looping, but if I play through, you can see it's a little bit laggy, the time over here. Not super accurate for the FPS, but you can see that movement, and it's just, I'm just going to let it loop right now with the playback, and so we can see it's starting and ending exactly the same, so that's repeatable. Not that that particular pose is one that I would want to loop, but you can see how that works. And then you just keep going through and adding any other keyframes you want wherever you have them. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can deal with changing the position. Again, to move the entire character, the torso is the parent of everything, so that's when we move. We can move it directly here from Animate mode, or we can come over to the Animate tool and set the position, the rotation, and all of those things from here. So I could set some sort of starting position and an ending position, but I'm just going to undo that, and instead I'm going to actually collapse this into a subscene because it'll be a little bit easier to control. So if I click on my first cell, hold down on Shift, click on the last cell, I can click on the collapse button here to make this into a subscene. And now, if I use the Animate tool to set a keyframe for my starting position, and then for whatever my ending position is, I can have both of those actions taking place at the same time. Now, that is probably way too big of a movement for the particular action that's happening. I should definitely spend some time refining. If you end up adding more inside of the subscene, like we have our subscene navigation that we can turn on and off and we can enter, and if there was something else in the environment, I could turn on the edit in place view so that we can see the larger scene as a whole. I don't have a larger scene, so I don't really need to worry about it. But let's say I start adding some additional animation and whatever sort of change is going to be happening. This is just a completely random pose, but let's say that's going to be the next pose. If I take a look back in the main scene, you'll notice that that doesn't display automatically. I have a couple of choices. I can just double click in a cell and type the next number and keep doing that to expose the ones that aren't there. I can hold down on Shift and select the last 2 frames and drag out from the little handle here. And this is just going to keep exposing cells as long as I want it to. And it does this based on the pattern of what you have selected. So because I have 2 cells in order selected, it just keeps adding 1 and expanding out. If I had a random order, like it goes to 1 here, and then I start looping this, you can see it just repeats exactly what I have selected. Or if I wanted this to be something that loops, I could select the entire thing, and now it's just going to keep repeating the entire selection. Timeline in Tahoma is super flexible and really great for just doing any timing adjustments. So I can keep doing whatever I want to show that additional information and however far it needs to come out. So I only have animation up to 30, so 37 is probably farther than I need to, but it's not bad to hold an animation a little bit after the timing is done. If I need to get back to not having a subscene, I can always explode it. So when the layer itself is selected, you can explode the subscene to go back to the default, but it's actually really helpful when you have your environment and whatever else is going on to keep your character just a little bit more organized, easier to manage in the subscene. All right, and that's really the basics as far as the cutout animation goes with the classic rigging approach. I do want to mention that you can have multiple skeletons set up for different views of your character. So if you have a front view where the position of your bones needs to be different, you would just make an entirely new scene or an entire new subscene and keep your other view of your character in that. So having a subscene for each view of the character can be really helpful. Something else, you can have, I'm just going to go into the subscene, you can have multiple drawings inside of the level for each part of the body. So if I wanted to have a head turn from the side view, I might have a 3/4 view drawing and then a front view drawing, and I can change between them just like I normally would, either W and Q to slide forwards and backwards. I only have the one drawing, so it's not going to really do anything here. Or typing the number of the drawing that I want, or even just dragging from the level strip and placing it where I want it on the timeline. So a few different things that we can do just to make this more dynamic. But really, that is the basics.